Welcome to Pharmacy in Focus, where I will be having pocket-sized conversations on current topics and interests relating to pharmacy and the wider health sector. My name is Sharina Basan, bringing you Pharmacy in Focus on behalf of the Pharmaceutical Society of New Zealand. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Pharmacy in Focus. Today we're having a conversation with Brooke Hines, who is a very passionate pharmacist and community pharmacy owner. Welcome, Brooke.
Morena, thank you.
Brooke is an independent community pharmacy owner in Upper Hutt in Wellington. She's always had a passion for pharmacy and is performing her dream job. She first purchased shares in the pharmacy that she currently owns at the age of 25 and is now the managing director with a 50% shareholding. Her pharmacy employs 23 staff and is open late night 7 days a week. Brooke also has 2 tamariki, Ada, who is 2, and Leo, who is 9 months old. She is a community pharmacist and, in her own words, has no postgraduate qualification. She is passionate and has a dedication to the pharmacy profession, which she believes has made her successful so far. Welcome again, Brooke.
Thank you.
Now tell me, what led you to want to be a pharmacy owner?
My dad is a pharmacist and he was a community pharmacy owner, and ever since I can remember, I always wanted to do what my dad did. And I guess that never changed. I never thought about doing anything else. I only ever had a job at the pharmacy. I just always wanted to do what my dad did. I love people and health, and it just seemed like that was the best job in the world.
Great to hear. So here was your inspiration.
Yeah,
right?
I guess so. Some parts. We'll take the good parts, yeah.
And how did you go about purchasing shares and getting into that ownership space at such a young age?
I guess it was never my intention to do it so early. I kind of thought that the progression for me would be when my dad retired, I took over his community pharmacy, and it was just like this family business that was going to go on forever. But then he sold, and so there was my future community pharmacy. And so I did my internship and then worked for a pharmacy for a year or 2, and then spoke to my boss at the time then about how that's what I had planned to do in the future, but I didn't have enough money. And so I guess I thought I'll just start talking to people. I hadn't decided then whether I'd do it before kids or after kids. And then an opportunity came up to manage a pharmacy, which I did for a year or so. And then I guess through making, I made it known that my intention was always to own a pharmacy. And then the opportunity came up that the current owner wanted to take a sort of a back seat a little bit. And so, yeah, I just was like, sweet, and started with a small percentage with the clause that if I had decided that, oh my goodness, what have I done, he would just buy it back. And so It was a reasonably relaxed entry into pharmacy ownership, because I guess that first step of handing over or taking on that debt, having only been a pharmacist, having not known anything about how the business side works, how to pay tax, was all a bit daunting. And so I found at such a young age the partnership was definitely a great stepping stone for me.
Great. Excellent. And what would you say are some of the challenges that you've faced so far in your career?
Challenges, definitely the timing. Obviously, I purchased the pharmacy before I started my own whānau, so definitely managing a pharmacy staff. We've got about 20 to 23, and then trying to take maternity leave in the middle of a pandemic, also not great timing. And challenges, I mean, pharmacy has evolved so much over the last 5 years, and it's going to do the same over the next 5. That definitely is challenging. Buying in early has been challenging. As an early career pharmacist, there wasn't a lot of people in a similar situation to me, so finding the right support networks, people to ask questions. I mean, there's so many every day, and also change the outlook, right? Like, if it's not challenging, it's boring. So you just have to accept that there is going to be challenges every day. And as a pharmacy, I mean, there's enough challenges as a pharmacist, let alone a pharmacist and a pharmacy owner. But I've outsourced a lot of the challenging pharmacy ownership jobs with a really good lawyer, a really good accountant, a really good inventory manager, because I love being a pharmacist. And so as long as all those things are taken care of by the right people, it still allows me to do the job that I actually love doing. But then in being a pharmacy owner, it allows us to sort of do it how we see best fits our community. So, yeah, I think there's challenges every day, and that's what I love about it.
That's great to hear that you love the challenges that come about. So you've talked a little bit about the daily challenges, both as a pharmacist and a pharmacy owner. What would you say are your biggest accomplishments to date?
My kids, probably. But in terms of pharmacy, definitely, probably from when I first brought in 5 years ago, it's like doubling the size of the pharmacy. And we moved to a new purpose-built site, which 5 years ago seemed like it was going to be way too big, and now we have got no space for anything. We've completely run out of room, and maintaining our 9 to 9, 7 days a week, has been really tough. I think the biggest accomplishment is definitely getting the pharmacy to where it is today, and having such an amazing team that we got through and are still working through this pandemic together. Like, I think I feel really proud of that.
Great. And you've talked a little bit about pharmacy owner and your team just now. What would you say are the common myths about being a pharmacy owner?
That you have to be really old. That being a pharmacy owner means you stop being a pharmacist. I have a manager, and I have a dispensary manager and a retail manager, and when I'm in the pharmacy, I really enjoy not being in charge. I just do what the manager tells me to do. I'm part of the team. I think that's what makes the pharmacy a really enjoyable space. We all kind of do our part. I do all the jobs, empty the rubbish bins, I'm part of that team as much as everyone else. And I think depending on the team, I mean, with 23, we have such a range of ages, ethnicities. It's cool. Everyone's got their own little quirks, and everyone's got something that they're good at or that they take charge of. So, which is important. It makes it interesting times. We're like a big family. So, it's cool.
So would you say you've talked very positively about your team and teamwork, and for you, you're getting your hands into everything that needs to be done regardless of what it is. So would you say you've got a really good team culture in your pharmacy?
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, it's never perfect, and it's always a work in progress. But I think because I am here, and my door is always open, and I have really good managers, and I have really good technicians, and most people are here because they're passionate about what they do. And also, I think due to size makes it more interesting. There's always something on the go. There's always something changing, new vaccinations, new passport machine. We've got a midwife on the team now, so people can pick her brains. Yeah, like I think that helps. I think we've got a lot of young, enthusiastic, energetic people. I think it also helps because I love it. I'm passionate about it. I'm not doom and gloom about the future of pharmacy. We love helping the community, and we all are kind of similar minded that way, which I think helps. Probably also the fully stocked fridge and the food cabinet helps too.
The passion is contagious by the sounds.
Yeah, hopefully. And I feel like we specifically try to get people that have a similar passion, I guess, because then it doesn't matter what their strengths or weaknesses are, we can all work as long as they're passionate about what they do.
Now, if you could go back to when you first graduated from pharmacy school and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
That it doesn't matter if I failed. and that, I guess I learned to, obviously, or for those that don't know, I didn't pass my internship the first time, and I hadn't failed a lot in my life. I mean, I had small things here and there, but nothing that mattered as much as like your final 5th year like internship exam, and you're the only one out of all your mates. But it actually doesn't matter, and I guess that was such a valuable lesson for me, because as a business owner, as someone who tries to push boundaries, and not everything is a success. I learned a lot from not passing that exam. It established some really amazing connections for me. People are, I think a lot of the time I've only where I am because of the questions I've asked and asking for help. People are so willing to help you. You just have to ask and accept that I'm not that good at that. And I think as well, not passing has meant that I have reached out to a whole lot more people that maybe were in a similar situation, and they've ended up working for me, becoming part of our team. Yeah, and I guess embrace your failures with your successes, because we can all learn from them, and it doesn't necessarily define what our career is going to look like. And in a way, it just motivated me to do better.
Totally agree with that sentiment. That some people say that that your greatest learnings are through failing something.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I kind of am like, who cares? Like, I just think we're all so fixated on our successes and what we do well, but actually what you don't do well and what you don't pass or what you don't succeed at is equally as important. Because I think becoming a pharmacy owner, everyone automatically assumes that you've got your whole life sorted and everything is so easy for you, and it's actually not the case. A lot of people just assume that I would have been a top pharmacy student and I would have flown through and it would have been easy, but that's not how it works. And I think, just putting in the effort and the hard work is equally as important.
Definitely agree with that as well. Hey, so we've talked about you not passing your internship and reaching out to people and learning from others and gaining the support over the years, and now becoming a pharmacy owner as well. And taking all that into consideration in your relatively short career path so far, you are now part of boards of some of our pharmacy organisations. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and how it came about?
Yeah, so I guess being a pharmacy owner, obviously I care about having a pharmacy in 5-10 years, but also because I am so passionate about what I do. I think recently there's been a huge shift in the future of pharmacy, what it's going to look like, what we're going to be doing. And my husband said to me, well, what are you doing about it? And I was like, well, yeah, that's a really good question. Not that much. And I thought for a long time about whether I wanted to work within the guild as a pharmacy owner, or was it the society? And I've kind of ended up doing a little bit of both, which is cool, but I decided that I would give, I was the branch president at the time, and really felt strongly about pharmacists rather than pharmacy ownership, coming back to my passion about, being a pharmacist. So I thought I would give the society board a go and see how that went. Obviously feeling completely out of my depth, and I'll just put my name out there and I won't get it, but maybe the next time round people will remember that I'd tried already before. And then getting voted on to the board and realizing at my first board meeting, like, what on earth am I doing? Way out of my league. Quickly signed up to a few courses and were like, I need to learn all about what I'm doing. But I think it's just, it comes back to the same thing, asking questions, having people that I can turn to and ask, what's the situation here? What happens with this? What does this mean? And just not being afraid to look like an idiot. Because I think the saying is so true. Like, if I'm thinking that question, someone else probably is too. And I think I also feel like I'm young enough that it's a good time to make all these mistakes, because then I don't feel bad, because people are like, oh, she's young, she's still learning. It's quite good to it's quite good to ask all these questions now. But and then I have also been given I think it's a really awesome and exciting opportunity to be the society observer on the guild board. So I'm kind of getting the best of both worlds at the moment and seeing what the world looks like at the governance level. And I think to make some real change in what my future looks like and the future of the pharmacy profession, you kind of have to have an insight at that level. Otherwise, what I'm doing, I'm only implementing at my local level. So it's cool, it's exciting, it's a bit daunting, but give it a shot, see what happens.
And as you say, not being scared to ask questions and recognizing where your limitations are, I guess, and your knowledge.
Absolutely.
And not being afraid to put your head in the ring, I think someone said earlier, and giving it a go.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Now, you've mentioned how passionate you are about pharmacy. What is it that you think specifically makes you very, very passionate about this career and pharmacy as a whole?
I love the people. You never know what is going to walk through the door, what is going to present itself, and having the opportunity to really make a difference to these people as potentially the first health professional that people have come across for whatever question or ailment they are wanting help with, because we don't charge for our time. Often they come to us first. So it's a really cool kind of problem solving triage type scenario, and people are so different, and I think that's really what I love doing. Never know all the quirks that you're going to get, and I think that's what I really love about community pharmacy, is you just have no idea.
And you're completely right. It ends up being quite a reactive role, I guess, because you don't know what phone calls you're going to get from who and who's going to walk through the door, and what
absolutely
issues or ailments people need help with.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for that, Brooke. We're now going to go on to the second section, which is looking at the skills that you might need to do what you are currently doing. So what skills do you think people need to be a pharmacy owner?
Master of delegation. Yeah, that's probably realizing what you are not good at, then delegate it, and then take credit for all the hard work that everybody else does. No, not really. So I have an amazing team of people that I delegate to, and most of them, all of them, I've handpicked that I've come across along the way. And so I didn't start with all these people, and probably the first few years starting out, when you don't have your people in your support network, that is the tough times, especially in pharmacy ownership, because it all kind of falls on you. But I have a fantastic dispensary manager, so I don't really get bogged down with the day-to-day in the dispensary. I have an inventory manager who does all my ordering and stock management. I have a retail manager. I have an amazing lawyer, an amazing accountant, an IT guy. Yeah, master delegator. That's I think my strength is as a pharmacist, and not to forget that, and not to try and do everything. Surrounding myself with people that I trust and will give them a job and not have to follow it up. Definitely delegate. Being a really good delegator, and being able to not be in the pharmacy but know they'll be okay. I think you just have to, especially with a pharmacy the size of what I've got. You just couldn't do it without the team that I have. I really believe that the success of the place is all on them. Yeah.
And you were mentioning the first few years were quite tough because you didn't have a specific team that you could call upon that you'd worked with for a number of years like you do now. How did you work through that initial transition, or because you're transitioning into ownership, but then also, well, I can't do everything. I don't know how to do everything. So how did you manage that?
I just cried every night. Yeah, that happened. Ask my husband, he'll say that happened. Yeah, if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? Like, if it was easy and then everyone would do it. So I think realizing that, it's gonna be tough. And also it's stressful, right? Like, have I paid tax? Have I paid GST? Like, I don't know what that is. Like, I've just gone from yesterday being an employee to now being a shareholder, and I've got all these responsibilities. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, and I think being patient, that's where a partnership was quite good. I did have someone to call on. And yeah, I think having something outside of work is really important, to kind of chill, because those first few years while you're learning everything and getting your people around. And also I was buying, so the pharmacy that I purchased into had recently changed ownership, and so I think it was really hard for the staff as well. Like, change is always hard, and change was hard for the team that was here. A new owner, and then 3 weeks later, a new manager, and then another new owner. And yeah, I think it's it was difficult. But yeah, you just, someone will leave, or you get, also we were growing. We've had growth for 4 or 5 years, and growth is always hard to manage because you're always busy, and then you get someone else, so you're not as busy, and then you just get busier again. But then in a way that's given us the opportunity to hire someone that I needed specifically for specific roles to take a load off. So when we got big enough to have an inventory manager, I could then completely forget about that and leave the retail staff to be in the shop. And then when we were big enough to have a dispensary manager, and yeah, so it all takes time. And I guess just the patience, knowing that it is kind of, each step is a step in the right direction.
Indeed.
Yeah, but it was pretty hairy at the start.
Yeah, it was pretty daunting initially, right?
Yeah. Well, I just bet my life on it. I bet my house on it. I was 26, had no kids, thought it was funny. Oh, it's, who cares? What's the worst that can happen? I'll just move back home. And then all of a sudden you realize it's less acceptable to move back home, and then you have a husband and it's all not so funny anymore. But like, in a way it was good, because I was young and I didn't really know what I was committing to, and like I had this massive loan and I was like, wow, I can't believe the bank let me, I can't believe the bank lent me that much money. Like, that's so silly. And then here we are now. But it's cool. Like, in a way it was kind of easier then not to overthink it, you didn't know what you were doing. Whereas if I was older and I had kids and I didn't think it was funny risking my house, I might have been a little bit more cautious.
Indeed.
But ignorance is bliss.
Well, it's worked out, right? You've asked the right questions to the right people, you've had the support that you've needed, and you've just gone for it.
Absolutely.
So you've talked about the challenges over the years since you've started your, I guess, ownership journey, if you want to call it that. For other people thinking about potentially becoming an employer, buying into a pharmacy, what do you think they need to consider and think about before taking the plunge?
I think definitely for women, family life, whether it's the right choice for them and their family to do it before or after children, because I think that's a massive sacrifice. Both of my children were brought up in the pharmacy from 6 weeks old. My niece looked after them full time upstairs, and I would just pop up and feed them. So I think it depends. I never was destined to be a stay-at-home mum, so that never bothered me. But I guess if if your passion and your dream was to be able to stay home with children, probably the ownership model at a young age is not the best option, but later on it might be. Whereas I really enjoy the flexibility it gave me with young kids. I could come to work 3 days a week with an 8-week-old, and then I could stay home for 2 days. So that was interesting. Also that, I think ownership, well, especially with the pharmacy that I have, is 9 till 9, 7 days a week. It becomes a 24/7 job, especially with social media, Facebook. These days you just get questions all day, every day, from patients, staff, sick leave, COVID positive, it is. I think business ownership is a commitment for the whole family, probably more so than I had realized, which is just another challenge to work through, I guess. It's I guess it depends on the size of the pharmacy. I never intended to have 23 staff 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, but it's kind of where we've ended up. And I'm like, where did my 5-day a week 9 till 6 pharmacy go? Like, what happened to that idea? But so I guess that's the thing. You just have to constantly, I think, keep reassessing. And I don't think it necessarily, I don't know. I think it's an interesting one going forward, because I think the pharmacies will get bigger and busier. So I think you definitely have to consider. It is a full commitment. Like, I love the challenges. I love pharmacy. I won't change careers. Like, this is me for good. I love it.
Wonderful.
And so, I think you really have to embrace that in order to then have a pharmacy that will succeed for years to come. You got to throw everything at it. So, it's interesting.
So finding the balance. People talk about work-life balance, and
you don't really have one. Not as an owner. Not at the moment either. Like, I still hope to find that balance. I definitely, like, it's like a New Year's resolution every year for me to find that balance and be able to get back on my bike. But the pandemic doesn't help the balance. So I've just kind of stopped that New Year's resolution for a while.
Take it one day at a time, hey?
Yeah, exactly.
So the final question I would like to end on is your favourite hobby when you have a chance to do it, and why?
So I used to be a triathlete before kids, and I used to hate swimming. I just wasn't really that good at it. So now probably cycling and swimming. I was only used to like running, but now cycling and swimming, because I'm not contactable when I'm in the pool under the water. Nobody can talk to me, and when I'm on my bike, no one can ring me. So probably those two things have become really important. My kids, my husband, pharmacy, like none of them can contact me then.
Is that when you get time out to yourself?
Yes, that. And also I have really found a passion in learning Māori. So for my husband, my tamariki, and then I found benefits that have come with that in terms of pronunciations and kōrero at work. So that has become a really big passion of mine, especially for the community where we are. Obviously, I have hardly any time for all of those other things at the moment, but I'm hopeful. I am hopeful that that time will come back. So, yeah.
You're certainly juggling a lot of different things right now, between family and ownership, and being on these other boards, to looking at the future of our profession as well. So I do thank you for your time today, Brooke. It's been very interesting hearing about your current job, the other roles that you're playing as well, and how you get your little bit of time out when you can.
Yeah, thank you. And I thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to hopefully even encourage one person to express an interest in ownership. And I'm always here for anyone that wants to come and hang out for a day or see what it's like doing what we do out here and what ownership looks like. And they can ring or email or text me anytime, because I think if we can inspire or encourage one other person to do it, then that's another. I think the opportunities for local ownership is massive for the communities that they can serve. So yeah, I'm always here if someone wants to chat or is considering whether it's right for them. Definitely feel free to get my email or number off Sharina and give me a bell.
Wonderful. I would say there'll be people out there that will certainly take you up on that offer. As everyone can tell who's been listening in today, Brooke is very approachable, and she will tell you how it is. Whatever you need to learn, looking at strengths and weaknesses, whether it's going to be right for you or not. So take her up on the opportunity and see how you go. Thank you very much, Brooke.
Cool. Not a worry.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.